What's up, everyone? Bass here. The first injury report of the 2022 NFL season is out. So that means football is finally back. The Packers just released their first injury report of the week for the upcoming Week 1 game versus the Minnesota Vikings. So let's quickly go over everything on this entire injury report. And if you are new here and want more Packers news, analysis, and updates, such as this one, injury updates every single week for every game and everything Packers, if that does interest you, please consider going down, clicking the subscribe button, as well as leaving a like on the video to support my channel. The injury report was just put out a few minutes ago. This tweet was by Bill Huber here, and it says, Packers injury report, did not participate, Lazard, ankle, limited, David Bakhtiari with a knee, Elgton Jenkins with a pectoral and knee, Darnell Savage with a hamstring, and tight end Robert Tonyan with a knee. So firstly, we'll start with the big one, Lazard. He was the only did not participate in this practice, and pretty much the only one that has been practicing all week on the 53-man roster. Looking more and more likely like Lazard will not be playing this week, week 1. Matt LaFleur had a presser earlier today. Basically, up until today, we didn't know what exactly this injury was. It was undisclosed. Now we see it's listed as an ankle, and then Matt LaFleur also said that basically someone had stepped on his foot last week in practice. Was one of those accidental injuries where it just happens. Still not practicing, not looking good for week 1, and that is a shame because Lazard all offseason, all through preseason, and going into this season was slated to be that number 1 wide receiver, that number 1 target for Aaron Rodgers. So this is going to mean all these young wide receivers are going to have to step up. Primarily Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson, who is not on this list, which we'll get into a little bit more after. But these two guys are going to have to step up. Obviously, Sammy Watkins is a new wide receiver in the building. He'll be starting out there week 1. Randall Cobb, a veteran that Aaron Rodgers will continue to go back to. Amari Rodgers, second-year player. Samori Toure will also likely be active due to Lazard being inactive if he does not play. And then they could also even call up someone like Juwan Winfrey from the practice squad. So as I said, this is already going to be huge opportunities for these two rookies, a second rounder and fourth rounder in Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. Obviously, Romeo Doubs, that training camp star, continually put up plays in training camp and preseason, and we haven't seen anything of Christian Watson yet through preseason. He just got back to practice in team sessions last week. We didn't see him in that last final preseason game, so really excited to see him finally get on the field. And then the rest of the guys being limited, David Bakhtiari with a knee and Elgton Jenkins with a pectoral and a knee. We saw Elgton Jenkins sit out of practice, I believe it was last week, and it was said that it wasn't about his knee, so obviously that injury was something to do with his pectoral, but both these guys being limited is a good sign. I'm really hoping both of these guys can play week 1. This would be such a big boost for this Packers offense. We haven't seen much of David Bakhtiari in a very, very long time, only those 3 drives in that week 18 game last year. Other than that, we haven't seen him in a long, long time. And getting both of these guys back would be such a huge boost to this offensive line. This offensive line has kind of been struggling most of preseason and training camp, and it makes sense. You don't have your top 2 linemen out there. So getting these guys back, especially against a good pass rush in Danielle Hunter and Zadarius Smith on the Vikings, would be super, super important. And then Darnell Savage still limited with that hamstring. I thought he'd be A-okay by now. Hamstring injuries do linger around. We saw him injure his hamstring in that family night practice. Like I said, I thought he'd be good by now, so this is a little bit of a worry to me, the fact that he's still limited in practice. This Packers safety depth is very, very thin, so we're 1 injury away from having a big problem at safety. So I'm hoping this injury isn't something that's going to linger around for Darnell Savage, and hopefully he can go week 1. And then as finally on the limited, we see Robert Tonyan with a knee injury. He's been practicing pretty much for a couple weeks now in team sessions. He looks really, really good. Probably just still limited out there, easing him back into things. I expect him to play this week. And then as for guys that were on the injury report that are full participation, we have Mason Crosby, right knee, Tipa Nalii, elbow, Jake Hansen, shoulder, Donald Levitt, shoulder, Josh Nijman, knee, and Christian Watson, knee. So really good to finally get Mason Crosby back. We didn't see any of him all of preseason. We had Gabe Burkich, who just didn't kick well, and then Ramiz Ahmed came in and actually kicked pretty well. He's brought back on the practice squad as a reserve kicker. So hopefully Mason Crosby, is good to go and can, mesh with these 2 new special teamers in Jack Coco and Pat O'Donnell, guys he hasn't really played with before at all. So hopefully that's not going to be an issue going into week 1. Tipa Nalii, rotational edge guy, he's ready to go. Jake Hansen, Donald Levitt, if Darnell Savage for some reason can't go, we're going to need Donald Levitt. And then Josh Nijman, if, either Elgton Jenkins or David Bakhtiari can't go, obviously you're going to need Josh Nijman out there. And then finally, like I was talking about earlier, Christian Watson is a full participation in practice today, which is really, really good sign. First time we have seen that. I think he's ready to go week 1, and the Packers have a plan for him on offense. And as I was mentioning, he's just going to be an even bigger part of the offense, thrown right into the mix with Lazard potentially being out. We didn't really expect this going into week one. We kind of thought these rookies could kind of get eased in with Lazard, Watkins, and Cobb kind of taking the limelight at starters for week one. But obviously, if one of those guys gets out, like Alan Lazard, one of these rookies or both of these rookies are definitely going to have to step up. It's that next man up mentality. But those are the middle of the week injury updates for the week one game against the Minnesota Vikings. Like I said, more injury updates will be coming Friday and then also Saturday with injury designations, whether these guys are going to be questionable, doubtful, or out. But that about does it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Please leave a like down below if you did. But I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching. And as always, go Pack Go.